was kind of still during COVID, so it was,
I remember.
presented the award at my house actually. So it's that was a little bit of a stranger thing, but it was a pleasant surprise nevertheless. And the second time, which was last year, it was it's an amazing thing. It's hard to explain really. I think it's hard to grasp also, and I think it's a little bit difficult to compare what I do to what Ryan does to what Noah does, and it's a little bit apples to oranges. And I think that a lot of the years, and especially this year, there's more than one person that could be considered deserving of the award. But just to be in the mix and to have your name alongside athletes like that, I think it's a pretty cool thing.
So the first time you mentioned was during COVID time, and we organised a little surprise for you, and it was actually a double act, because I think we surprised your parents as well.
Yeah, well, I was supposed to surprise my parents with the coaches of the year award, and then I guess they surprised me with the thing on top of it. So it was kind of like it was a little bit of a double surprise kind of thing. So I'm the one that actually got tricked in the end, even though I thought I was the one being slick.
Yeah, that was a good memory. But this year we're finally back in Monaco, just like last year, and I'm tempted to say yet again you've broken world records this year. So is the sky really the limit for you? Because what are we at now? 23, 24, 25, 23, right?
23, yeah.
23.
Mm-hmm.
What's your where is your sky? What's the limit for your sky?
I don't know. Hopefully higher, and I think that I have quite a bit more to give, and I know that I'm not fully at my peak yet, and I think that there's more that I can do physically. There's more that I can do technically, as far as within the event. So the plan is to keep pushing it higher and higher and see how high I can go. But honestly, as far as like a real number and like setting my mind on something specifically, I don't really think about it that much. I'm pretty much in the present, and I think about what's going to happen next, which is going to be whatever the next competition is, and just try to get the most out of myself on these days of training or whatever it may be, or the competition day itself. So I don't think so long term like you may think.
If I'm not wrong, you broke one world record indoors and one outdoors this year. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you prefer jumping indoors, outdoors? Does it make a difference? I mean, like, talk to us like if we were pole vaulters, experts. Does it really make a difference? Like, this, is it springier? Is it easier indoors, or is it just a myth?
Well, it's definitely it is easier indoors. That's for sure. And I think the main thing is that you don't have the wind, and you don't have the conditions to worry about, and so it's always going to be stable conditions, and you have no problem as far as the approach and getting up to full speed like you want to. And outdoors is very difficult because it's pretty uncommon that you get a day where it's absolutely dead wind and there's no wind on your side or wherever it may be coming from. And so when you factor wind in the outdoor season, it's quite difficult, especially when you're carrying this 5 meter 20 long sail pretty much, and you're trying to navigate that. And when you have the wind to fight against, you're not able to grip quite as high. And if I'm not able to grip quite as high and use as stiff as a pole and not able to generate the same amount of speed, then I can still jump well, but world record kind of becomes a little bit of a tougher task.
Do you train differently for indoors and outdoors?
No, I don't really train differently. I think that it's something that you just kind of have to. No, not really. I guess short answer, but it is a different thing as far as the jumping, and I think the only way to get used to it is you just have to jump outdoors. You have to jump outdoors, and you have to just get used to the wind and conditions that are going to change, and get used to how to have jumps where you can push through whatever it may be.
And I guess that comes with experience, right?
Yeah, it comes with experience, and it comes with competing a lot and going to competitions and not being afraid to put yourself out there in competitions where it might not be the perfect day, and a day where you have everything set up for you to break the world record, and but know that there's still something that you can get out of the day, which is getting the best out of yourself. So
Good performance, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Talking about bad days, I think you had quite a bad one when you were last in Monaco here
Yeah.
at the time only. What happened? What went wrong?
yeah, no, it wasn't my best day. It wasn't my best day. It was my probably my worst one of the year, actually. But no, I had a little bit of some problems with my hamstring. Actually, it was starting to get quite tight, and I was starting to freak out a little bit because it wasn't anything so major, of course, because I was able to compete well at the World Championships just 3 weeks later or so. But I was a little bit freaked out as far as it being my last competition before the World Championships, so I didn't want to do anything to strain it or anything. And I was just starting to get really tight during the competition, so I had to try to be more aggressive than I would like to as far as the heights that I picked, and I tried to take a jump to try to win it, but it didn't really work out, and I just physically I wasn't really quite there.
So what happens when you don't feel at your best, or you feel like something's wrong? Do you actually signal to your parents, to your coaches, and do you have something that you go through and say, Dad, Mom, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to do this, and that? Do you adapt in the moment?
Yeah, I guess naturally you have to, and pole vaulting is it's a tedious event, and so I have the time to go over there, walk to the stands, and talk it out, and talk out how I'm feeling and whatnot. And my father happened to be here also, and it's a good thing to talk it out, because at times sometimes it's hard to think when you're in the competition mode, and all you think about is winning at whatever cost it may be, and so sometimes it's a little bit tough to kind of relax and kind of think for yourself what the risk is of whatever you may be doing is. So it's kind of like having a caddy in golf, I guess, your coaches, and you talk through whatever decision it may be, whether it's physical or a technical thing. And I think that was also one of the things that we were debating on was here in Monaco.
So you travel with your own poles around the world, right? Is it called a pole bag? What's it called?
Pole bag, case, and whatever.
How many poles do you have in your bag?
I think usually 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Do they each have a name? Do you
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. But because I'm always trying to use a stiffer pole. Because I guess the simple way to put it is that if I can put more energy into a stiffer pole, then the stiffer pole is going to fling me up there higher. So if I can create more speed and more energy on the runway and through the takeoff, then I can use a stiffer pole that can catapult me up there. So I'm always trying to improve in that aspect of the jump and use stiffer poles. But there always does kind of seem to be a pole for the year that seems to kind of be more of your baby, and more of the one that I do my good jumps on.
So do you take care of them? What do you do? How do you take care of your poles?
You just leave them in the case.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And the poles that I jump on in the competitions, I don't really use them in practice
Okay.
that much, because
But they're similar. I mean, in the same.
yeah, they're just softer.
Okay.
They're just not as stiff, and that's mostly because I don't create the same amount of speed on the runway when I'm in practice, and I lose the adrenaline factor, I guess, and I just can't really replicate that high of intensity jumps in practice, whether I want to or not. But so yeah, usually the poles that I jump on, they just kind of tour around Europe, and they tour from meet to meet. I don't really use them in between. I just have some practice sets back in Sweden. They're pretty much similar. Yeah.
Are you really worried about your poles when they travel the world? I mean, there's so many stories about broken poles. Is that something that distracts you or worries you?
It definitely distracts my manager, for sure. And it distracts the people who have to really organize the logistics of getting the poles around. There's a lot of people that are really stressed. I don't stress about logistical things too much. Honestly, all the time. I don't let that throw me down, because I don't really like to deal with that so much. But it's a crazy hassle traveling with poles, and all the pole vaulters have to come together, and almost always a lot of the competitions there's some pole vaulter that's helping out the other pole vaulters as far as the poles, and whether we have a competition in France or we have a competition in Poland next, and it would be Piotr Lisek, the Polish jumper, taking everybody's poles to Poland, and then he's going to bring it to us for the meet, or Renault taking the poles to France, and he's going to, because it's not that easy always to find flights that'll take, you know, the 5 meters 20 long extra, you know, bulky baggage. It's a little bit more than bulky baggage. It's pretty extra bulky baggage. So everybody kind of works as a team as far as the organization of getting poles to whatnot, whether we need to all rent a freight bus or something like that to get the poles to the next meet. But so we all kind of have to work together in that way.
And talking about Renault, I think you've just announced you're competing in his meet next year. Is that going to be your opener for the winter? Or what's the schedule like?
No, it's not going to be the opener. I think it's going to be the third competition. I start the year end of January in Astana.
Astana, World Indoor Tour Meet. Yeah.
World Indoor Tour Meet, and first time jumping there, and the stadium just looked amazing. Track looked really nice, and I'm gonna have a short schedule, kind of like last year, just 4 competitions. Keep the indoor season pretty short and sweet, and have that competition, have my own competition back in Uppsala, Sweden, and then have Renault's competition, and then end it off with World Indoors, I guess in the beginning of March. And so, that's nice, because then I guess only just a few competitions, but I get to really attack them and focus on them, trying to jump as high as I possibly can.
Does anybody else have any questions for Mondo? Yes, over here. Oh, okay, I'll get to you. Mike first.
Oh, okay. Right. You've been people have sort of run out of words about how to describe what you've done in events. But when Chris Nelson was talking after Tokyo about you in terms of being Ronald Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, how do you react to that? Is that a bit embarrassing? Is that quite nice to hear? What do you make of it?
Not embarrassing, but it's, I don't know, it is what it is. I haven't really thought of it that much, honestly. I know that I'm good at pole vault, and I know that when I'm jumping really well, then everything should come together. But it's hard to compare myself, I guess, to other people in other sports in that way. I mean, it's even hard to compare myself sometimes to a lot of other track athletes. It's kind of apples to oranges. Yeah. But I think it's flattering, at least. I guess that's the only thing I can say, kind of.
Yeah. Hi, Mondo. Could you tell us a few words about why Eugene is such a special place for you?
Well, it's a really good pole vault setup, and I think that just the way that the runway is set up and the way that they have the opening there towards the end, it's you can get nice, good winds, and for the most part, it's pretty dead there as far as the wind. And that's okay. Yeah, and most of the time when you're jumping at competitions, especially at any of the stadiums around, mostly in Europe, when it's built around a football stadium, then they're going to be across the grass, which usually in the stadium it kind of causes the winds. It's not a good place as far as the winds, because you have the wind pretty much on your side, and then you have to battle against that. And Eugene's one of the places where it's not built. It's built kind of alongside, parallel to the 100 meter, and so you can actually get decent winds, sometimes even a tailwind. And so I mean that's a huge factor as far as breaking a world record outdoors, because like I said, it's quite a bit easier indoors not having to deal with the wind, and if you can have the wind actually, not hurting you but even helping you, then it's quite nice.
Thank you. Another question? There's a gentleman here afterwards. Yeah. Go ahead.
Just wondering, you were just talking about the changes you might make in how you compete, but just when you mentioned Ryan earlier, and he made a fairly significant change to his technique this year, with good effects. Presumably there's nothing you could do in such a major way to your technique. Is it just a matter of just fine gradations, different poles? Is that the way you're going to proceed?
as far as now, I don't really, I don't have anything so huge that I'm trying to change. I think there's always a little spots where that you can improve upon. I know that there's spots in my jump that I can improve upon, but as far as I have had more of a focus the past couple of years, especially on more of just the approach and the run up speed and trying to build up as much speed and energy as I possibly can on the runway and through the takeoff, and that's been the primary focus now in the past couple of years, like I said. So no, as far as like a huge technical change, I haven't really done anything so crazy in the past few years. Honestly, I don't plan on doing anything too crazy now. I've been jumping for a very long time too, and so I've kind of had those periods of times where I did a lot of changes in my jump and whatnot, and kind of what's there now is, for the most part, the base of it is kind of what it is, and I don't think I'm going to be able to change that because I don't even really think when I jump. Everything just kind of happens. It's like changing how you ride a bicycle. It's just kind of like muscle memory, and everything happens. So it's hard to change so much of my jump, but there always is spots where you can be more efficient and better at it, and definitely.
You sorted it out when you were 7, really.
Kind of. Maybe not when I was 7, but probably when I was a teenager. My jump looks pretty similar actually to when I was a teenager. I just happen to be faster now, faster and stronger now. I'm using a lot longer and stiffer poles, but other than that, it's quite similar actually. Yeah.
Hi, Mondo. Looking at your goals set at the beginning of the season, how was that 2023 year for you?
It was a good year. Yeah, it was a good year. It was a little bit of a different year. I had a little bit more bumps, I guess, in the road than I did in 2022. Seemed like everything flowed just very easy and perfect in 2022, and so naturally that's not always how it's going to be. And I had competitions like here in Monaco, and those kind of periods of times where I had a little bit of problems in my body and having worked through that. But overall, I think I had some really good performances. I definitely had really good performances when I needed to have them, and I think that's the most important thing as a whole when I look back on the season, and that's why I'll of course consider it a big success. But I think that as a whole, there's better that I can do, and there's more consistency to be found throughout the entire season and through the outdoors, even though the outdoors can be a little bit more tricky when you have to deal with the different variables of jumping outdoors. But I still think that there's better jumps to be had in that regard. So no, overall it was really good. But next year is the most important year as a track and field athlete, of course, with the Olympics. So yeah, this upcoming year is the time where I need everything to be really good.
Hi, Mondo. You mentioned earlier how pole vaulters help each other out with transporting their poles here and there. And in general, it seems that like the decathlon, there's a really special ambiance among the pole vaulters, that you guys get along really, really well.
Yeah, we do. And I think that, that's just the way it is. And I think that's part of it being a little bit more of an individual sport, and it's a sport where you don't directly compete against the person outside of you, or the person that you're competing against doesn't really affect what you do, and you don't judge what you do based on them. It's not like a race in that way where you can really feel the competition on your side. When you're jumping, you're very much alone, and it's only just you on the runway, and you're just looking at the bar. It's just you have to get over it, and there's nobody else in your way or on your side. It's very much just up to you. And so I think that the way that the sport is set up in that way, it's a lot easier to have just a lot of respect for each other, and just be very friendly. And I think it's just this kind of brotherhood, and I think it's always been like that. I don't think it's necessarily just now in this generation of pole vaulters. I think when my father was jumping way back in the day, they used to hang out and cut up and do hang out after the competitions and whatnot. I think that's just part of the pole vaulting culture too, in a way. And fun though.
Notice on the AIPS. For you, which one was the most memorable competition this year?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think probably World Championships is the World Championships, and being able to win my second and defend my title was huge for me, especially coming off of the Monaco competition, which wasn't so nice for me, and being able to come back from that, so it made the pressure just a little bit more going to the World Championship, which I think was a nice thing, and it felt good to kind of have that pressure on me, and to really make sure that I had to lock in and go in there and get the job done and put on a great performance, because I knew that the other people were going to be ready and really want the world title, not just me, like EJ and Chris and Curtis. So World Championships is tough to beat, but I mean, as far as the two world records, they were pretty great timing too, because the first one being at Renault's place, and it was one of the first years that Renault can't compete at his own competition in his hometown, and so of course that most of the people there, they want to be there because of Renault and watch Renault jump, and so I kind of had to be the stand-in and take his place, and instead of being the opening act, I was more of the main act in that sense, and so to be able to do that kind of not only for myself, but also kind of for Renault in a way, and to be able to celebrate that with him at his competition was very special also. So luckily I had a few good moments to choose from, and that's a good thing.
Mondo, we've seen a couple of times now, Gianmarco and Mutaz, they shared gold. Katie and Nina, they shared gold. What do you think about, would you share gold? Or would you do everything that you can to be in a position not to have to? You can avoid this question if you want to.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, it's yeah. I guess it's nice to not be in the position to have to. I guess, but no, I mean, as an athlete and in their situation, you definitely understand it. I mean, especially if you have the option to do it, then it's pretty tough. And if you're the two people standing there and you have the option to share the top place on the podium, then I guess if you decide to do the other thing, which would be jump off, then I guess the only thing that can happen is that there's one person that loses out, and so you're both winning out. But I don't know. It's a little bit of a strange thing, I guess, in a way. But I guess
it depends on the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, it depends on the moment. It depends on the competition. It depends on I guess there's a lot of factors that kind of would come into play to whether it would be right. But I don't know.
Were you happy for Nina and Katie to share?
Sure. Yeah. No, I think it was great. It was a great competition. Great competition to watch. A lot of great back and forth, and a lot of great jumping. And for Katie, I guess it being her second world title, and then for Nina being up there for the first time ever, I think it's it's super cool, interesting, and you don't really see that, I guess, much in a lot of other sports and a lot of other things. So it's a very new thing. It's funny, I guess, how it's happened
Twice,
a couple of times in like very short period of time, but then you never heard about it happening before. So no, I thought it was fun. It was definitely interesting. Yeah.
Mike, I think you had another question.
I was just going to say, for some reason, I'm just remembering that in the middle of lockdown backyard challenge, where I remember you were
The ultimate garden clash.
It was a great thing that was set up. I don't know if people remember it, and I can still remember this last seconds ticked away. You were still desperately trying to get one more vault in. But yeah, maybe you would share about it. I don't know. But and then seriously, I wanted to ask you what you mentioned about you at Renault's meeting. Renault beat the world record at Sega's meeting in the same place, and then it comes round and you beat the world record at Renault's meeting, and of course you have your own meeting as well. That's unique. And the high jumpers sometimes did that a bit with their own meetings, but there haven't been world records broken in that way in any other discipline, I don't think.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it's a bit of a strange thing. It's a bit of a strange thing. It's kind of this, yeah, these beautiful kind of passing of the torch kind of moments, I guess you can say. And it's weird the way that it's worked out like that as far as Renault, because in me and Renault's place. But you know, I guess that's yeah, it's just one of these weird, cool, amazing, beautiful things about sports, where things can just kind of happen in that way, where it seems like it's not even realistic, and it's almost like a Hollywood script kind of.
One last thing from me. There's a couple of things that you promised everyone that have yet to happen. Like, was it a 300-meter challenge, you and Carsten?
No, it was not 300.
What was
It
it?
was 100.
100. Okay. When is that coming? And then was it 50, you and Shellyan? I mean, you
No,
keep
they were both hundreds, but
hundreds. Okay.
yeah. But the first one I did not initiate, actually. The first one was actually more Shelly-Ann on the offensive
Okay.
than me. She was the one that more, yeah, was more assertive as far as wanting it to happen. That was more just me accepting it. But the other one was actually a
You?
bit more of me. Yeah,
Okay. So
I guess
you,
with Karsten, yeah.
you and Carsten 100. What's the outcome?
I think it'll be a tough fight. And I think that I will be more on him than he thinks I will be, for sure. Because talking to him, I know he was very confident, and he has a lot of reason to be confident, for sure. But I think that yeah, I mean, he doesn't really, of course he's gonna be super fast, but he doesn't run the 100. I don't really run the 100 either, but
Starting blocks or start?
yeah, of course, like a real 100-meter race.
A real 100-meter race.
A real
Okay.
thing, yeah, of
Okay.
course. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us when and we'll come.
I know. Yeah, we will try to figure it out. We unfortunately have, kind of busy schedules doing our side
I
event.
kind of get that.
Yeah, but if it worked out where there was a spacious kind of time period at the end of the season or after the season even, where it could work, then I think it would be super fun for both of us.
Is there anyone else you want to challenge?
No, I think I'm challenged out. I think there's too many
That's
challenges
it.
on the table. I think then it becomes, you can't just have all these challenges out and nothing actually ends up
Ryan
happening.
in the shot put? No.
No. I only want to run. I think that would be the only thing that I'd be any good at. I don't think I would, and I don't even know how good I would be at that in the first place. So, no, as far as anything that's like throwing or whatnot, I would be no good at that. So, I only like to do things that I'm at least decent at. The other things aren't that fun. Yeah.
Mondo, thank you so much. It was
Thank
really
you.
fun having you here, and best of luck for everything.
Thank you.